smiling that crooked smile of his, as she glanced up in thanks and reached for her mug.
Did I tell you how sexy you look in your new specs?
He caught a drip of melting butter from his slice of toast, popped his finger in his mouth, and slowly sucked the tip of his finger mischievously as he stared at Billie.
Stop it.
I'm trying to concentrate. Billie rolled her eyes in mock disapproval. I only need reading specs due to the time I've spent going over these notes. I still can't shake off the feeling that Will didn't do this alone. She knew that it was just a gut feeling. The evidence was literally staring her in the face, with stills from the CCTV now revealed as she flicked from page to page. Will Cox had certainly dragged the unconscious body into the grave, which had some depth of soil removed in readiness, and then covered it over again. Being a grave digger by trade, it wouldn't have caused him the same level of unease as the action might have with most people, Billie conceded. But still, something felt wrong. The chief had insisted on forging ahead with the prosecution, determined to ensure that any major investigation loose ends were tied up by his teams as he wound down to his looming retirement.
You are right. As far as Will's concerned, he didn't do it alone. As he's repeated at every one of our consultations, the voice told him to do it. He was having auditory hallucinations.
Max munched on his toast.
We've already been through this, darling, he added, though Billie was well aware of Max's point of view on this particular case.
In the 3 months that they had been together, they had already shared so much, including a couple of court appearances in which Billie had apprehended a criminal and was giving evidence for the prosecution, whereas Max had been called as an expert psychologist for the defense.
Just like today. Prosecutor should have listened to me in the first place and avoided all this waste of time and money in the courts, Max continued. Yes, he is clearly guilty of the crime, but Will suffers from bouts of insane automatism. When carrying out the murder, he was acting in a state of physical involuntariness. So where a witness may have seen him smashing the brains out of Charles Carroll's head with his shovel, all Will could see was this.
Max took the spoon on Billie's plate and smashed the top of one of her eggs. Yolk splattered out and oozed down the shell.
Probably thought he was just sitting down to breakfast with his invisible friend.
Billie pushed her plate to one side.
Thanks for that, she answered, reaching for her coffee instead. But as I keep saying, there were no witnesses to the actual attack with the shovel. It's just that he genuinely didn't seem to have any problems with Charles Carroll.
Billie thought of Joe Green, her former assisting officer. Her brother had also suffered from learning difficulties and had also been convicted of murder. It felt as though Joe Green was whispering in her ear this morning, telling Billie that just as in the case with her brother, Will Cox hadn't planned and executed this murder all alone.
He may not have had a problem with Charles Carroll, but remember, on that day, Charles was dressed as his alter ego, Alice.
Max raised an eyebrow.
Will's mother was adamant that he didn't have a problem with that.
Billie hated going to court with a prosecution that she didn't feel in her heart was just. But Max didn't seem to have the same concerns that she had, and perhaps it was time to bow down to his superior knowledge of what made people tick.
Not consciously, Max shrugged, but as I believe he has some internal cerebral deformity that we can't fully examine whilst he lolls on remand in the prison hospital wing, we can't know that for sure. Either way, when I convince the jury of my diagnosis, they are sure to reach a special verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity. Win-win for both of us.
Max smiled, dipping one of Billie's toast soldiers in the still oozing yolk.
You refuse to believe he did it all by himself and don't like the thought of him being locked up in prison. I get to bring him to a specialist hospital where he can get help. When I visited him yesterday, he looked like he desperately needed it.
Just a different version of hell, and he'll probably never be let out. Billie thought of Will Cox's old mum, left alone without her beloved son. The specialist hospital for the criminals.